Friends with Your Planet teaches youth of all ages the benefits of reducing, reusing, and recycling. It also focuses on the use of eco-friendly products, keeping the air we breathe clean, the water we drink fresh, in a variety of ways to keep our environment safe. 100% of this DVD's proceeds are donated to the Children's Museum of Montana. Check out the Children's Museum of Montana at 22 Railroad Square in Great Falls, or log on to childrensmuseumofmontana.org. Now, I'm sitting in front of this stack of pallets because, first of all, they make about 500 million of these a year. And of that 500 million, 200 million of those end up, guess where? Right here, in a landfill. If you were to stack those pallets side by side, you'd have a row of pallets going all the way from Great Falls, Montana to Ada, Oklahoma. Just to drive that far would take over 21 hours. That is crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to save the planet today by taking these pallets, breaking them down, and we're going to make them into a compost bin. So stick around. The next time you're in Great Falls, check out the Children's Museum of Montana at 22 Railroad Square. Hours are Monday through Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, when working with pallets, there's a couple things we need to know. First, you want to look for the letters HT. HT stands for heat treated. Heat treated pallets are always safe to use because they don't use any chemicals like formaldehyde when they put together the pallet. Never use a pallet marked with the letters MB. You don't even want to burn these in your stove. The chemicals released can make you very sick, and they're also bad for the ozone layer. Right now, I'm going to show you a super easy way to break down a pallet. Now, we've chosen the pallet that we want to use, and because we're going to make a rectangular box, we're going to first start by cutting out these two braces. After we do that, we're going to flip the pallet around, and we're going to cut along each side of these and use each one of these pieces as the side of our box. And once we attach the smaller pieces to the larger pieces, our compost box will be complete. But before we begin, we have to think safety, which means eyeglasses and gloves. Removed all of the wood from our 3 support pieces. We're going to take one of those, since we're not going to use it, and just stick it to the side for right now, leaving us with the 2 that we need for our compost box. Now when we come back, we're going to pull out some nails and we're going to get down and dirty. Hey kids, you like Legos? Then call the Children's Museum of Montana at 452-6661 and register for the Lego Club today. Now when removing nails, you're going to see a couple different tools people like to use. First is the hammer. The second one is one of these, sometimes called nips or clippers. So when using a hammer to remove nails, it's pretty simple. You just want to put the nail head inside this little V. Slip it in there like that, make sure your wood is steady, and pull it out. Now these nails are going to be a little bit harder to remove, which is why we've got our clippers. For one thing, they're not straight. Also, they sink down into the wood. So when you take out these nails, you want to use this little guy. You want to clip the ends off. Pretty simple. Now after you've snipped nails off, what you can do is you take your hammer, you're going to pop these back so they come through this side of the wood, then you're going to take your hammer and just like we did before, remove the nails. Now the first thing that we want to do is we want to take 2 measurements. First is this piece of wood and the next piece of wood. The reason why we want to do that is because we want to make sure that our screws fit. So now we measure our screw, and as you can see, it's about 3 inches long. Now why do we need it to be 3 inches long? You'll go through this piece of wood here, and then through this piece of wood here. And as you can see, there's going to be just a little bit of an overlap. I've laid out the wood the way that I want it. I'm going to take this piece of wood and actually place it just on the inside here. Then I've got all of these pieces of wood, which I'm going to put up this direction all the way down the row, ending with another piece. We're going to actually take this piece of wood, butt it up against this back piece of wood, and make a little mark. We're going to do that so that every single piece of wood now that gets marked is going to be in a perfect position all the way down the line, and our corners are going to fit. First, we have the support up here on top, and then we've got our individual boards that will be screwed on to this one. Now, if you remember right, these boards weren't the same size. So what we did was we took our tape measure here, we laid it out at 14 inches. As you can see, we've completed our sidewall here. And if you remember, we just took the one on the right, measured it, drilled that into place, and then everything else we just kind of laid down pretty close to where that piece was. Alright guys, all of our walls have been attached and we've got our compost bin complete. Wait a minute, there's no bottom you say? Of course not, and I'll show you why. Now depending on where you live and sometimes who your neighbors are, a compost bin isn't always the most friendly thing to do. So a way around that is to make what's called a lasagna bin, which is what we did. We just call it a compost bin because it basically does the same thing. Now, like a compost bin, basically what you want to do is enrich your soil so you can use it for further gardening. Now, with a lasagna bin, you actually want the bottom left alone. The first thing you're going to do is take cardboard. Most any kind of cardboard will do. We just try not to use cardboard that has any types of inks or strange colors on it. You can also use newspapers. Now, after your newspaper and cardboard's been laid out, what you want to do is you want to make it a little bit wet. After that, get grass clippings, put those on top, and then get a nice layer of dirt. And within time, this combination of the cardboard, newspapers, grass clippings, dirt, you can even use coffee filters if you like, is going to break down and make a really nice compost. And another thing, you want to keep it moist. Not drenched wet, not muddy, but a little bit moist to help the microbes build and grow, because that's what's going to give you the really good soil. Here's a good tip to know. Always tear the newspapers and cardboard into small pieces. This allows them to break down faster. It also means you can use your compost sooner than later. Now, in building with pallets, there's tons of things you can make. Check out some of the things I did. And once this is all leveled out, I'm going to use pallets to make a deck. And there's a lot of cool things you can make with pallets. Check out some of these ideas. There are 1 million plastic bags used every single minute. Why is this such a big deal? First, the production of plastic bags requires petroleum and often natural gas and other chemicals which produce toxins into the air. Toxins that you and I have to breathe just to survive. Second, plastic bags don't biodegrade. They photodegrade, which simply means they break down into very small pieces. Even when these pieces are broken down, they continue to remain toxic and release poison into the ecosystem. Plastic bags are the second most common type of garbage found in our oceans today. Some tests show that there are 6 times more plastic in parts of the North Pacific Ocean than there are zooplankton, and that every square mile of ocean contains about 46,000 pieces of floating plastic. Some people have had enough and said no to the use of plastic bags. The city of San Francisco in California is a perfect example. The residents got together and passed a law to make it illegal to use plastic bags anywhere in their city. Northern Ireland also grew tired of this toxic mess. The grocery stores began charging a hefty fee if your items were placed in a plastic bag. The result was astonishing. There was a 90% drop in the use of plastic bags. Great job, Northern Ireland! It takes 12 million barrels of oil to produce America's 100 billion plastic bags. That's enough oil to drive 1.6 million cars a year. Now another good point is paper bags. Some people might think, well, these would be better because they're biodegradable, you can use them from recycled materials, but that's not the entire problem. The issue is more of the size of the carbon footprint that the paper bag uses. Besides using more energy, paper bag production also causes more air and water pollution. So is there a clear winner? Which is better for the environment, paper or plastic? Well, the answer is neither. The best thing you can do is purchase a reusable bag from materials like canvas, mesh, or cotton. Now I'm like everybody else. Sometimes I forget to bring a bag with me to the grocery store. So a trick that I've learned is to keep one of these or two of these in my car at all times. In fact, if I'm going to the store by myself, I'll even take the bags and sit on top of them so when I get out, I remember to take them in with me. Now again, plastic bags are really bad for the environment, so please, please, please do everything that you can to use these kind of bags and get away from plastic. During the spring and summer months, one thing is always guaranteed, and that's cutting your lawn. When I was a little kid, I used to have to cut the grass, and I really hated it because we had this old push lawnmower. I was so embarrassed about it that whenever the cars would drive up and down the street, I would actually run and go hide behind a tree until they left. Now, this was back in the 70s. Little did I know, during that time, President Jimmy Carter was actually putting solar panels on the White House. It was June 30th, and the United States was, even back then, seeing the dangers of relying so heavily on the use of oil as a source of energy. President Carter was even known for wearing sweaters around the White House rather than turning up the heat. You go, Jimmy Carter. Thanks for setting a great example. You are officially a friend to the planet. Now, being older and wiser, I wish I could look back and say, hey, this is a great opportunity to save the planet. I'm not using a lawnmower that uses gas, and I'm not polluting the air. Which is why I bought one of these. Now, I really love this thing for a couple of reasons. First, it uses electricity instead of gas, so I'm not polluting the air. But second, it has a little area in the lawnmower that can actually shoot the grass out. But when it chops it up so fine that it turns into mulch. So as I cut the grass, I'm actually mulching the lawn and making it more healthy at the same time. Now, one thing about grass is you never ever want to shock it. For example, if you want your lawn to be about 2 inches high, you let it grow to 3 inches, and then you cut the 1 inch off, which makes it another 2 inches. The shocked blades are cracked and even brown. Gross. Green grass? Now that's what a lawn is really supposed to look like. Now, like a lot of lawnmowers, this one has an adjustment, so you can raise and lower the blade. With this, I've actually set it so it's about 2.5 inches off the ground. Here's a few more tips you can use. Always try to mow your lawn in the morning, or better yet, in the early evening. Longer grass will shade your soil. This will keep it cool and keep the water from evaporating. And finally, longer grass also reduces the opportunity for weed seeds to germinate. Cool stuff, kiddos. Who likes to rock the party? We like to rock the party. Who likes to rock the party? Ants like to rock the party. Hey, here's an all-natural way how to get rid of the ants that are invading your house and your yard. Use a little cornmeal. Works every time. Ants get a bad rap for finding and taking people's food. So why do they do this? Well, first of all, ants are social insects, which means they live in groups, or colonies. And a colony can be made up of as many as 1 million ants. A scout ant's job is to find food. Once it does, it returns to the colony, leaving a trail of pheromones, or a smell, so the foraging ants can then follow the trail to the food. The foraging ants then carry the food to the colony. Can you imagine trying to feed 1 million people? Cornmeal isn't only effective, but it's also safe for pets and people. Part of being friends with your planet is being eco-friendly, which is why I like to use white vinegar. It's got so many uses, it's going to blow your mind. One of the cool things about white vinegar is you can use it to kill weeds. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little concoction, and I'm going to show you how it's done. Now, whenever you use a plastic bottle, remember, always look on the bottom. There's a little triangle here with a number in it. This one's labeled a number 2, which means I can safely recycle it here where I live. When using white vinegar to kill weeds, you want this to be as strong as possible. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just having my solution be 100% white vinegar. Another cool thing about vinegar is that not only is it safe to use, you can also use it for so many other things. One of them is cleaning bathrooms or anywhere around your kitchen. Let's check it out. Now for some reason I go through a lot of t-shirts. Rather than throwing those away, I like to reuse them as cleaning towels. Once you're done cleaning, you can simply throw them in the laundry, wash them, and they're good to go. So we're going to spray down our bathroom sink and we're going to clean it up with one of our reused t-shirts. Another cool thing is that the vinegar solution will also clean glass. Just a couple little spritz, and then this time rather than using the t-shirts, we're going to use newspapers. The reason we're using newspapers is because they don't leave streaks on the glass. Another great thing about vinegar is you can use it to clean sponges. Simply fill a bowl of vinegar and soak the sponge overnight. The acid in the vinegar will kill germ-causing bacteria. It will also eliminate odors. And when you're done, pour the vinegar down the drain. It's safe on pipes and works like a sanitizer. Speaking of sinks, you can even get rid of problem clogs. Just use 1/2 cup baking soda and 1 cup of vinegar. Pour the baking soda into the clogged drain. Now, pour in your 1 cup of vinegar. Check out how it fizzes.
It's easy, fun, and delicious to be a friend with your planet. And always remember, you can make a difference. We'll catch you next time.
100% of this DVD's proceeds are donated to the Children's Museum of Montana. Visit the Children's Museum of Montana at 22 Railroad Square or check them out at childrensmuseumofmontana.org 452-6661.